Alien Prometheus. Let's review it. Alien Prometheus in the timeline is, I believe, the first Alien film, although with the new series and lots of other different spin-offs, it's getting all a bit confusing now. When I was on holiday as a kid, I was about 12 to 14 years old. I picked up Prometheus on DVD, and I had no idea it was an Alien film, so it was actually the first ever Alien film I watched. I remember thinking it was just an okay and average film, and I haven't seen it properly since then, and I'm about 26 now. And as I'm now a big Alien fan and have seen all the movies, I wanted to rewatch them all in timeline order to see what I think of them. Now, does Prometheus hold up? It's okay. I left the film feeling it was fairly average and a little bit disappointed. The film starts off strong, don't get me wrong. The anticipation and all these questions that the characters have, it's really intriguing, and you get their motivations and you're rooting for the characters, and as a viewer you're also wanting to see how they get the answers to the questions, if they do or don't, and it also makes you ponder these questions yourself. And I think that is one of the strongest points of the film. Elizabeth Shaw is the main protagonist we follow. She's a very likeable character. You empathise with her a lot, and she generally did a good job. She's not as likeable and good or complex as Ripley, for example. The other standout character was David. He is quite complex, and I really enjoyed watching Michael Fassbender's performance in this. And because I've also seen Covenant as well, I can reference how interesting in this whole series David is as a character. Now, I know that a lot of people aren't a fan of the fact that it appears that David made the aliens, but when I'm watching this film, you see a mural of the alien in the engineer's lab or this area that they explore. And I personally believe that the engineers were inspired by the aliens which were already in existence to make their own with this black goo. So I don't personally think that David is the creator of the aliens. He's the creator of another form of the aliens that they try and manufacture with this black goo that the engineers have. That's my own kind of theory on it, but the film is quite bad at explaining things to you, and it leaves a lot up in the air. For example, at the beginning of this film, there's a prologue where one of the engineers drinks something and he breaks apart, and his DNA, you see it all breaking and then reforming in the water that he falls into. Now, apparently this is meant to show that he sacrificed himself in order to start or jumpstart humanity and make humans. That's what I've heard anyway, but the scene doesn't explain that very well, and it's all a little bit ambiguous. But overall, this film made me leave with more questions than answers, and I think that's something that the next film in the series, Covenant, has over this film in its strengths. A lot of the other cast in this film I feel were a little bit wasted. You have Benedict Wong's character, who maybe had a few lines of dialogue and didn't really do much, but maybe it's because he's a better well-known actor now. You also have Idris Elba, who is a good character and he's very likeable, but he's not really in the film that much, and a lot of the characters and background characters, their backstories aren't really explained and the motivations aren't explained well. There's this one character who's quite unlikable, and all you know about him is he really likes rocks. He literally says it in the film. He's like, nah, I'm out of here, no more aliens, I'm just here to study rocks, I really like rocks. Yeah, I can relate to the fact that you want to get away from aliens, maybe not so much his love of rocks. But Elizabeth Shaw, you know a little bit about her backstory, her dad, her motivations, so that is a good thing about understanding this character's backstory. You also have Charlize Theron's character, I believe they call her Vickers. She is a really boring character, she has no emotion. Literally, the characters around her ask her if she's a robot. I really love her as an actress, especially in Mad Max Fury Road. She is amazing. She is just a really strong and powerful character. But I feel she was just absolutely wasted in this film. I really did dislike her character. Maybe you're meant to, but it just felt wasted. The reveal in this film that Wayland is alive was good and it was interesting, and finally having that reveal of why they're actually there to research and what they want, but then for that to ultimately just lead to disappointment and more questions. I watched a deleted scene because I had the Blu-ray of this. I don't know if it's available on the DVD version, but it's a extended or deleted scene where the engineer talks. It doesn't reveal very much, and it's only a very small scene, but just this additional little bit of David communicating with the engineer and Wayland together, it just adds so much more, even if it's just a little bit. Now, even though this is an Alien film, it's obviously not called Alien, and you can tell because there is not very much alien in this film. There are a few very small scenes of some grotesqueness or mutation and these alien-type creatures, and those are intriguing, but the scientist characters or the characters around it make very stupid decisions. If you, for example, saw a snake in the wild that was unidentified, you don't know what species it is, or, you're seeing it for the first time, it's difficult to imagine, but try it. Would you reach your hand out and call it cute or a little baby or something and try and pat it on the head? Probably not. But the characters in this film, yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea. No, absolutely not. It's ridiculous. This character is trying to portray himself as very curious and doesn't take things too seriously, it appears, but it's still not believable. There is a really good scene between the engineer and this giant face hugger tentacle creature that was very interesting. But again, I think overall, this film is maybe a 6 out of 10. The questions and the exploration and the kind of existential dread and different questions that you ask yourself about life and humanity and why we're here are really, really intriguing and really good. But it's just poorly executed, in my opinion. And it doesn't answer enough of these questions to make me feel like the film was warranted or enjoyable or really worth a watch. Now obviously I feel that it's worth watching just because it's part of the Alien franchise and I want to know what happens in this film, but ultimately I was disappointed. Next up I'm going to review Alien Covenant, so remember to subscribe to the channel and stick around for that one. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Until next time.